Hello everyone, and welcome to the first episode of SMAF TV. We are here in sunny Arizona, basically here in the Dune Sea. My name is Alan Venable. I'm the president of the Saber Martial Arts Foundation, and we're here to answer some of your questions and also to wish you a happy May the 4th. So, without further ado, the first question that we get a lot is, how do I pick a good lightsaber hilt? So, we'll go through that. Picking your own lightsaber hilt is one of the more fun parts of the hobby of saber combat. So it really depends on you and what you are looking for in your lightsaber, your style of fighting, the way it feels in your hand, if it's going to cut up your hand, even with gloves on. So I'm going to go through a couple of different ones here with my limited lightsaber selection here, but really in the end it depends on your level of comfort and your level of working with your saber, however long. So depending on what type of saber training or what type of sword training you've had, you'll have a preference for a single-handed saber or a two-handed saber. Okay? For example, this is a two-handed saber. It has enough of a length so two of my hands can fit completely on it, and there's even a little bit more so I can adjust my grip if I'd like. This particular saber also has a tsuba, which if we were fighting with real steel or anything like that would protect my hands from being cut if the blade ran down to my hilt. Now that could be a detriment depending on the rule set that you're in, because some places and some groups will use the tsuba as a target because it's actually part of the hilt, and the hilt itself is a target. And we've seen so many versions of Star Wars where hilts get hit, and that's how it works. Okay, there are also ways to look at and see, okay, how long is my saber? If I'm looking at the length of the saber, does it feel correct? Does it feel weighted correctly with my hand here versus here versus here? Okay, so that's part of it. The best thing you can look at when you look at your saber is how comfortable is it to hold. Is it a one-handed saber? Can I actually fight with it with one hand? Or do I have to fight with two hands? Do I have to actually have both hands on the grip? Does it feel too weighty on that side? Yeah, how long is my reach? So there's a lot of factors in picking your lightsaber length for the hilt and also the length of the blade. We'll talk more about that in other videos, but this is what we're going to start to strive for, is learning how to know where and how to fight with the saber that you have. Now, we said this is about other lightsaber hilts, so I'll show you a couple of different ones, okay? This is a curved lightsaber hilt. Okay, the curved lightsaber hilt, depending on how you fight, again, you can fight with two hands, okay, with a different angle and kind of almost a delayed strike when you start to move, or you can fight with one, and actually have this. As you see, there's also a thrusting tip on this blade. A lot of fencers like the curved hilt because it's more like a pistol grip, like they're used to on their foils or their epées and their sabers. So what we use for this is going to be, generally speaking, more than likely a one-handed fighter will use this. Okay, this will sacrifice power for speed because one hand moving versus both hands moving versus the whole body moving will not give away as much movement. So we'll work on that as well in further videos. So this is probably a really good example of a one-handed saber. Okay, this will need only one hand to hold. There's not a lot of room for my second hand on there, and I can move my hand very easily on it. It feels very smooth, and it doesn't have anything digging into my hand, even if I don't have gloves on. There's no big box on it. Okay, you'll see stuff like that. Very simple. These tend to be the more inexpensive sabers because there's not a lot of stuff on it, and gubbins, I believe that they're called. So it's very, very simple, very easy to find these. More often than not, these are going to be called apprentices or disciples or proteges or prodigies or whatever saber designer it is, they tend to have the name of a student or beginner, a synonym for student or beginner for these types of sabers. And I recommend those the most. Again, they're the most inexpensive. They'll get a saber in your hand. They'll be very useful for you to start and learn with, and then you grow your saber collection. Thicker lightsaber hilts, okay, are going to be ones with a bigger circumference, so it's harder to actually grip if you have a smaller hand. But these tend to be a little bit heavier and better for training, again, for power and control, and being able to strengthen the wrist as you go through your movement. See, I can't even really completely close my fist over this one. But a thicker saber hilt, depending again on the size of your hand and your wrist strength, is going to be really good for you to be able to strengthen that power play. Okay, that power character hilts. So this is a character from the expanded universe called Mara Jade. This is one of her sabers. Notice there's this little control box here. All right, that is called a gubbin, and that control box, if you're moving around, that might impede your movement of your hand on your saber hilt, and that might destroy your hand if you're not wearing gloves. Okay, there are these little gribblies on this, and they tend to do pretty well as if you know the feel of your saber, know where your hand is on it at all times, so you know exactly where your hands are going to be. This is a little bit of a thicker hilt, and they're actually going to be really good if you train with just this saber. However, when you work with other sabers, it'll feel a little bit off. Character hilts are really great. There are some of them that you've probably heard us talk about that are just don't make sense. They feel hard to hold on to. Vader saber is one of them. The Graflex saber is another one of them. There's only a couple ways to hold on to it without totally ripping apart your hand. Okay, but that's part of what we're looking at. You can grab any of these with the spikes in the claws, and it'll be fun and great, and you'll look awesome. I don't know how well they will stand up in a fight, because usually any claws or spikes tend to get destroyed when you're in close, hitting hilt to hilt, or even hit with a polycarbonate blade. I've seen a lot of those claws bend and break almost. So you have to look at this as a weapon that is very personalized to you, just like it's personalized for every character that we look at in the Star Wars universe. Their saber hilt tells a lot about them. Your saber hilt will tell a lot about you. So when we look at a saber hilt, there's a lot of things to consider. More often than not, it's going to be your style of fighting. It's going to be the feel of the saber in your hand. Is it comfortable for you? And are you used to your own saber? Send us more of your questions, comments, concerns, compliments. We're going to be at sabermartialarts.com, and you can reach us here through our YouTube channel, which we just started. May the Force be with you, and happy May the 4th.